The night sky above the small Korean village was peaceful and clear. Stars twinkled like tiny diamonds against the black canvas above. In his small farmhouse, Hyunwoo finished his evening meal of rice and vegetables. He looked out the window at his fields where corn and beans grew in neat rows. Tomorrow would be another day of simple farm work. Down the dirt road, his sister Yuna sat by her wooden loom. Her fingers moved quickly as she wove colorful threads into beautiful patterns. The cloth would be sold at the market next week. She hummed a soft tune while she worked. The sound mixed with the gentle chirping of crickets outside her window. Near the village center, Do-hyun cleaned his blacksmith tools. Hammers, tongs, and files hung neatly on the walls of his workshop. The fire in his forge had died down to glowing embers. He had spent the day making horseshoes and farm tools for the other villagers. His strong hands were dirty from the work, but he felt good about helping his neighbors. So-min closed the school books on her desk. She had taught 15 children that day. They learned to read and write Korean letters. Some struggled with math, but she was patient with them. Education was important for the future of their village. She blew out the oil lamp and prepared for bed. The village was quiet now. Most people slept peacefully in their homes. Dogs rested under porches. Chickens roosted in their coops. Everything seemed normal and safe. High above the earth, something watched the village. A massive ship hung in space like a metal mountain. Its hull was dark gray and covered with strange markings. Inside the ship, alien beings planned their next move. Captain Nextar studied the glowing screen in front of him. The display showed detailed information about the planet below. His three eyes focused on the data. His scaly skin was rough like tree bark. Sharp teeth filled his mouth when he smiled. "Perfect target," he said to his crew. His voice was deep and harsh. The reports were correct. These humans are very primitive. They use simple tools and basic farming. No advanced weapons. No spaceships. Easy prey. The other aliens nodded their large heads. They were called the Vorth. Each one stood over 7 feet tall. Their thick skin could stop bullets. Their claws could tear through steel. They had conquered many worlds and taken millions of slaves. "How many humans live in that village?" asked the first officer. His name was Grexnar. He looked at the screen with hungry eyes. "About 200, Nextar replied. "Good size for our cargo hold. The slave markets will pay well for healthy human workers." The Vorth had studied Earth for months. Their spy drones showed a world of simple people. Humans used metal tools and rode in primitive vehicles. They fought with basic weapons that shot small metal pieces, nothing that could threaten the mighty Vorth Empire. "Begin the harvest," Nextar ordered. The ship moved closer to Earth. Special devices hid it from human eyes and machines. The Vorth had perfected this technology over centuries of raiding. No primitive race had ever detected them coming. Smaller ships launched from the main vessel. They were sleek and silent. Each one carried 20 Vorth soldiers with advanced weapons. The plan was simple. Land near the village, use sleep gas to knock out all the humans, load them into the ships. Leave before anyone noticed. The first ship landed in Hyunwoo's cornfield. The plants were crushed under its weight. Doors opened with a soft hiss. Vorth soldiers stepped out. Their armor gleamed in the moonlight. They carried weapons that could paralyze any living thing. Team leader Zekros checked his scanner. "All humans are sleeping," he reported. "No guards. No security systems," just like the intelligence said. The soldiers spread out through the village. They moved quietly between the houses. Their night vision let them see perfectly in the darkness. Each soldier carried containers of sleep gas. At Hyunwoo's house, 2 Vorth soldiers entered through the front door. They found him lying in his bed. He seemed to be in deep sleep. One soldier sprayed gas around the room to make sure he stayed unconscious. The other soldier lifted the human easily. "Lightweight," the soldier commented. "These primitives are weak." Similar scenes played out across the village. So-min was taken from her schoolhouse. Do-hyun was carried from his forge. Yuna was lifted from her weaving room. None of the humans seemed to wake up or resist. The Vorth were pleased with how easy everything was. Their intelligence about human primitiveness was clearly correct. These beings had no idea that advanced aliens even existed. They lived simple lives without understanding the greater universe around them. One by one, the villagers were loaded into the alien ships. The Vorth handled them like bags of grain. Men, women, and children were all valuable cargo. The slave markets always needed fresh workers. "Excellent harvest," Zekros told his team. "Command will be pleased." But the Vorth soldiers did not notice several small details. They missed the way Hyunwoo's breathing stayed perfectly steady despite the sleep gas. They did not see Somin's fingers move in tiny patterns against her leg. They ignored the fact that Do-hyun's muscles remained tensed even while supposedly unconscious. Most importantly, they failed to spot the nearly invisible wire that Yuna had pulled from her loom. A wire that looked like simple thread but was actually much more advanced. As the last human was loaded aboard, the Vorth ships prepared to leave. Their mission was complete. Another primitive world had been harvested successfully. The humans would wake up far from Earth, ready to begin their lives as slaves. The ships rose into the night sky and disappeared among the stars. The village was left empty and quiet. Only crushed plants and empty houses showed that anything had happened. But deep in space aboard the main Vorth vessel, something unexpected was beginning. The primitive humans were starting to wake up much sooner than they should have, and when they opened their eyes, there was no fear or confusion in their gaze. Instead, there was the calm focus of people who had been waiting for exactly this moment to arrive. The main cargo bay of the Vorth ship had been transformed into a temporary command center. Earth military personnel worked efficiently at portable computers and communication stations. The rescued prisoners sat in comfortable chairs, receiving medical attention and warm food. Admiral Tae-min Kang stepped through the airlock wearing Earth's most advanced military uniform. His bearing showed decades of military experience. Behind him came a team of specialists carrying equipment that made the Vorth technology look ancient. "Status report," he requested as he approached Hyunwoo's team. "Mission successful, sir?" Hyunwoo replied with a salute. "Complete intelligence package acquired. All prisoners secured. No human casualties." "Excellent work, Commander." The Admiral turned to look at the captured Vorth crew members. They sat in shock, still trying to understand what had happened to them. Captain Nextar was brought forward under guard. He looked defeated and confused. His proud empire had been revealed as nothing more than bullies who preyed on those they thought were weaker. "Captain," Admiral Kang said in perfect Vorth, "your government will want to hear what I have to say." A communication link was established with the Vorth homeworld. Within minutes, the screen showed Grand Admiral Theknar, Supreme Commander of the Vorth military forces. His massive form filled the display. "Who dares to attack our ships?" Theknar demanded. "Release Captain Nextar immediately." "I am Admiral Tae-min Kang of the Earth Defense Force," Kang replied calmly. "Your captain attacked a peaceful Earth settlement and kidnapped our citizens. He is now our prisoner." "Earth?" Theknar looked confused. "Our reports show Earth is a primitive world with no space capability." "Your reports were deliberately false," Kang explained. "We have been studying your empire for 50 years. Every primitive world you attacked was actually an Earth intelligence operation." The Vorth Grand Admiral's three eyes widened as the truth sank in. You've been watching us?" "Learning about you," Kang corrected. "Your military capabilities, your technology, your weaknesses. Today, that study period ends." Behind the Admiral, Somin was working with other Earth specialists to process the rescued slaves. There were not just humans in the ship's cargo holds. Beings from dozens of different worlds had been captured and were being transported to the slave markets. "Sir," Somin reported, "we have 347 rescued individuals from 23 different species. Medical scans show they're all in reasonable health." Do-hyun approached from the engineering section. "Complete technical analysis finished, Admiral. Vorth technology is approximately 80 years behind our current level. Their ships are heavily armed but poorly designed." "What about their numbers?" Kang asked. "Large fleet but spread across many systems." Yuna replied from her communication station. "Central command structure is vulnerable to coordinated attacks. Their logistics are inefficient." On the main screen, Grand Admiral Theknar was listening to these reports with growing alarm. The humans were casually discussing his empire's military secrets as if they had complete access to classified information. "How do you know all this?" he demanded. "We told you," Admiral Kang said patiently. "We've been studying you. Our intelligence operations have penetrated every level of your government. We know your ship positions, your supply routes, your battle plans." To prove his point, Kang nodded to Yuna. She activated a display showing detailed maps of Vorth space. Every military base, every fleet position, every strategic resource was marked and labeled. "This is impossible," Theknar whispered. Advanced technology makes many things possible, Kang replied. For example, our stealth systems are completely undetectable by your sensors. Our ships have been observing your fleets for years. As if summoned by his words, space around the Vorth homeworld began to shimmer. Dozens of Earth warships materialized from invisibility. They had been there all along, watching and waiting. We are now positioned around every major Vorth military installation. Kang continued. Your home fleet is surrounded. Your colonies are monitored. Your government buildings are under observation. The Grand Admiral realized his empire was completely helpless. An enemy they had never known existed had somehow gained total strategic advantage while remaining hidden. What do you want? He asked quietly. An end to slavery, Kang replied firmly. The release of all captured beings. Reparations to the worlds you have damaged. A complete change in your empire's behavior. And if we refuse? Admiral Kang's expression hardened. Then we will remove you from power and install leaders who understand justice. On the screen, explosions lit up the space around the Vorth homeworld. But these were not attacks. They were demonstrations. Earth weapons struck carefully chosen targets. Empty military satellites and abandoned space stations. The message was clear. Earth could destroy anything it wanted to destroy. Our weapons can penetrate your shields like they don't exist, Kang explained. Our ships are faster, stronger, and more advanced than anything in your fleet. This is not a negotiation. This is an ultimatum. Theknar looked at the display showing his helpless fleets. Centuries of Vorth military supremacy had ended in a single day. They had awakened an enemy far beyond their ability to fight. How long do we have to decide? He asked. You have already decided, Somin said as she joined the conversation. Your captain's database contained complete records of every slave transaction. We know which worlds were raided, which beings were sold, which officials were bribed. She activated another display. It showed financial records, client lists, and correspondence between Vorth officials and slave buyers. This information is being transmitted to every government in the galaxy, she continued. The evidence is overwhelming. The galaxy will demand justice whether you cooperate or not. Du Hyun added, We've also sent technical specifications for advanced defensive systems to every world you've ever attacked. They now have the ability to protect themselves from future raids. You're ending our way of life, Theknar said desperately. We're ending your crimes, Admiral Kang corrected. The Vorth people can have a good future if they choose peace over predation. But the choice must be made now. The Grand Admiral looked at his staff. They all nodded grimly. The Vorth Empire was completely defeated. Resistance would only lead to destruction. We surrender, Theknar said quietly. What are your terms? Complete cessation of slaving activities, Kang replied. Return of all captured beings to their homeworlds. Payment of reparations to damaged civilizations. Dismantling of your military slave raiding fleets. Acceptance of Earth monitoring to ensure compliance. And in return, the Vorth people live. Your civilian population is unharmed. Your homeworld remains independent. You join the community of civilized nations that respect the rights of all sentient beings. It was a generous offer considering the scope of Vorth crimes. Theknar realized these humans could have simply destroyed his empire and taken everything. Instead, they offered redemption. We accept, he said formally. Around the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out. Earth fleets had simultaneously appeared at every major slaving operation. The criminal networks that had operated for centuries were being dismantled in a single coordinated action. On the rescued slave transport, freed beings from many worlds wept with joy as they learned they would be going home. Earth medical teams worked to heal both physical and emotional wounds. Advanced technology that had been hidden for decades was now being used to bring justice and mercy to the galaxy. Hyunwoo stood with his team as they watched the peaceful transfer of prisoners and the liberation of slaves. Their long mission was finally complete. The simple village that had served as their cover was gone, but their real work, protecting the innocent and fighting injustice, would continue. What's our next assignment, sir? He asked Admiral Kang. The Admiral smiled. There are still criminal organizations operating in the Andromeda sector. They think they're safe because it's so far from Earth. Somin, Do-hyun, and Yuna exchanged glances. Their specialized skills would be needed again. The galaxy was a large place, and there were many beings who still needed help. Sir, Yuna said with a slight smile, I hear there's a nice farming planet in that sector where we could establish a new cover identity. Excellent, Admiral Kang replied. The criminals there have no idea that the primitive humans are coming. The age of Earth's hidden observation was over. The age of active protection for all sentient beings had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. Captain Nextar stood on the bridge of his ship with growing anger. Half his crew was unconscious or tied up. The escaped human slaves had taken control of 3 major ship sections. His weapons were offline. His shields were failing. How is this possible? He roared at his remaining officers. They are primitive farmers. First Officer Grexnar checked his scanner readings again. Sir, the humans are using our own technology against us. They seem to understand our systems better than we do. Impossible. Our intelligence reports showed they barely have metal tools. Perhaps our intelligence was wrong, sir. Before Nextar could reply, the bridge doors opened. Hyunwoo walked in calmly, followed by his 3 companions. None of the Vorth crew tried to stop them. Their weapons were already disabled. Good morning, Captain, Hyunwoo said in perfect Galactic Standard language. His accent was flawless. I believe we need to have a conversation. Nextar stared at the human who had been playing the role of a confused farmer just days before. Now the man stood with military posture and spoke like an educated diplomat. You speak Galactic Standard, the captain said slowly. Among other languages, Hyunwoo replied. I'm fluent in Vorth, Antarian, Zephyrian, and 12 other alien tongues. So are my colleagues. Somin stepped forward. Allow me to make proper introductions, Captain. I am Dr. Somin Kim, xenobiology specialist with Earth's Deep Space Research Division. My focus is alien physiology and combat applications. She gestured to the tall blacksmith. This is Master Engineer Do-Hyun Lee. He specializes in alien technology analysis and reverse engineering. What you call primitive blacksmithing is actually advanced metallurgy training. Yuna bowed politely. Major Yoon Choi, communications and electronic warfare specialist. I've been studying Vorth computer systems for 3 years. Finally, Hyunwoo stepped forward. Commander Hyunwoo Park, Earth Defense Force Special Operations. We've been waiting a long time to meet you, Captain. The bridge fell silent except for the humming of damaged equipment. Every Vorth crew member stared at the humans in shock. The primitive slaves had just revealed themselves as highly trained military specialists. That village, Nextar said weakly, those simple homes and farms, were part of a carefully designed cover operation, Hyunwoo explained. What you raided was actually one of Earth's most sensitive military research facilities. We study alien technology there. We also train deep cover operatives. So-min pulled out a device no larger than a coin. She activated it and a holographic display appeared in the air. The image showed Earth as it really was. Massive orbital stations surrounded the planet. Defense satellites formed protective grids. Sleek warships patrolled the space around the homeworld. Your spy drones saw what we wanted them to see, she continued. Advanced holographic projection technology. We've been hiding our true capabilities for over 50 years. Do-Hyun added. Every piece of primitive technology in our village was actually sophisticated equipment in disguise. My forge contained a quantum physics laboratory. So-min's school was a xenobiology research center. But why? Grexnar asked. Why hide your advancement? Because we've been studying you, Yuna replied. The Vorth Empire, the Calorian Syndicate, the Antarian Collective. We know about the slave trade. We know about the exploitation of primitive worlds. We've been preparing. Hyunwoo walked to the main viewing screen. He pressed several controls and the display changed to show space around the ship. Dark shapes were visible against the stars. Our friends have arrived, he said calmly. The dark shapes suddenly blazed with light as they dropped their stealth fields. Earth Defense Force ships surrounded the Vorth vessel. Each human ship was sleek and beautiful, but their weapons were clearly visible and extremely advanced. This is Admiral Taemin Kang of the Earth Defense Force, a voice said over the ship's communication system. The Admiral spoke in perfect Vorth. Captain Nextar, you are surrounded. Surrender immediately or face the consequences. Nextar looked at his tactical display. 30 human warships had appeared from nowhere. Their technology was obviously superior to anything the Vorth Empire possessed. His single ship was completely outmatched. How many of our raids have you infiltrated? He asked quietly. This is our 7th successful penetration mission this year, Hyunwoo replied. We have detailed information about your slave routes, your buyers, your holding facilities. We know everything about your operation. So-min showed him another holographic display. It contained detailed maps of Vorth territory, lists of ship movements, profiles of slave traders, and financial records. We've been very thorough, she said. Earth has been planning this operation for decades. The captain realized the true scope of what had happened. The primitive planet they thought they were raiding had actually been studying them the entire time. The easy victims were actually advanced military operators gathering intelligence. What do you want? He asked. Justice, Yunwu said simply. The end of the slave trade. Freedom for all the beings you've captured and sold. Du Hyun was at the ship's control panels now. His fingers moved over the alien controls like a master musician. I'm downloading your complete database, he announced. Client lists, supply routes, financial records, everything. You can't do this, Nexstar protested. The Vorth Empire will not tolerate this attack. The Vorth Empire will adapt or be destroyed, Yuna said coldly. We've already infiltrated 6 other slaving organizations. They all said the same thing you just said. The bridge doors opened again. Earth soldiers entered in advanced armor that made Vorth equipment look like children's toys. They moved with precision and professionalism that impressed even the hostile aliens. Secure the prisoners, Hyunwoo ordered. Treat them according to Earth military protocols. As the Vorth crew was taken into custody, Nexstar called out desperately. Wait, the Empire has hundreds of ships, thousands of worlds. You cannot fight us all. Hyunwoo paused at the door. Captain, you still don't understand. Earth has been a spacefaring civilization for 2 centuries. We have colonies in 40 star systems. Our fleet numbers in the thousands. Our technology is generations ahead of yours. He smiled grimly. The question is not whether we can fight you. The question is whether you're smart enough to surrender before we demonstrate our full capabilities. So Min added, We've been watching the galaxy for decades, Captain. Learning about every species, every government, every threat. Today, we stop hiding. As the humans left the bridge, Nexstar realized his empire had made a terrible mistake. They had attacked what they thought was a primitive world. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant that had been preparing for this moment for generations. The age of human involvement in galactic affairs had officially begun, and it would change everything. On the 4th day, everything changed. The morning feeding time came as usual. Guard Drekmal carried containers of the gray food paste. His partner Vextor followed behind with water tubes. They had done this routine hundreds of times with different groups of slaves. Humans were always the easiest to handle. Feeding time, primitives, Drekmal called out. He opened the first cell to place food containers inside. Du Hyun was lying near the door of his cell. He seemed to be sleeping or sick. His large blacksmith body was curled up on the floor. The guard stepped over him without worry. That was his first mistake. Du Hyun's hand shot out like a striking snake. His fingers found the exact pressure point on the guard's ankle. Drekmal dropped like a falling tree. Before he could cry out, Do Hyun's other hand covered his mouth. The second guard, Vextor, turned at the sound. He saw his partner on the ground with a human on top of him. Impossible. Humans were weak primitives. They could not fight Vorth warriors. Vextor raised his plasma weapon, but Yuna was already moving. She had pulled herself up to the top of her cell. Her small body moved like a dancer. She dropped down onto the guard's back. Her hands found nerve points that the Vorth did not even know they had. Vextor's weapon fell from numb fingers. His legs stopped working. He crashed to the floor next to his partner. Hyunwoo was at his cell door now. The lock that should have been impossible for a primitive to understand clicked open. His fingers moved over the alien controls like he had used them every day of his life. How did you? Drekmal started to ask. So Min appeared beside him. She pressed a small device against his neck. The guard's eyes rolled back and he fell unconscious. The device looked like a simple hairpin, but it delivered a precise electrical shock. Within 30 seconds, both guards were down. The other prisoners stared in shock. Jinho and Yoonji could not believe what they had seen. Their simple village neighbors had just defeated 2 massive alien warriors. Stay calm, Hyunwoo told the other villagers in Korean. Everything will be explained later. He took Drekmal's key device and opened all the cells. Do-hyun and Yuna were already stripping the guards of their weapons and armor. So-min was at the corridor control panel, her fingers dancing over alien symbols. Security cameras are looped, she reported quietly. We have maybe 10 minutes before the next patrol. Weapons? Hyunwoo asked. 2 plasma rifles, 4 energy pistols, and various tools, Do-hyun replied. He tested the weight and balance of a plasma rifle. His movements showed he knew exactly how to use it. Ship layout? Standard Vorth cruiser design, Yuna answered. Main corridor leads to the elevator shaft. Engineering is down. Bridge is up. The other villagers watched this exchange with growing amazement. These were not the simple farmers and teachers they had known all their lives. These people moved with military precision and spoke like trained soldiers. "Follow us and stay quiet," Hyunwoo told the group. "Do exactly what we say." They moved out of the prison area in perfect formation. Hyunwoo took point position. Do-hyun covered the rear. So-min and Yuna protected the flanks. The other villagers stayed in the center of the group. Their destination was the ship's communication center. If they could send a message to Earth, help would come. But first they had to get there without being detected. The ship's corridors were dimly lit and full of strange alien smells. Pipes and cables ran along the walls. Strange symbols marked different sections. Everything was built for beings much larger than humans. They reached the first intersection without being seen. So-min checked her scanner. "Two guards coming from the left," she whispered. "Armed patrol. Take them," Hyunwoo ordered. The Vorth guards rounded the corner and found the corridor empty. That was impossible. Sensors showed life forms in this area. They moved forward to investigate. Do-hyun dropped from an overhead pipe onto the first guard. His blacksmith strength drove the alien to the ground. Before the second guard could react, Yuna hit him with a throwing star that came from nowhere. The star struck a nerve cluster in the guard's neck. He fell unconscious instantly. Two more enemies were down without firing a shot. "Impressive," So-min said as she examined the throwing star. "Perfect accuracy." "Traditional family skill," Yuna replied modestly. They continued moving through the ship. Each encounter taught the Vorth crew a new lesson about human capabilities. Guards who expected weak primitives instead faced trained fighters who knew their weaknesses. In the engineering section, 3 Vorth technicians were working on the ship's power systems. They heard footsteps and turned to see a group of escaped slaves approaching. "Alert, alert!" one technician shouted into his communicator. Do-hyun reached the control panel before the alarm could be sent. His fingers moved over the alien controls with impossible skill. Instead of an alert, the ship's internal communication system played cheerful music. "How do you know Vorth engineering?" the technician demanded. "We studied your technical manuals," Do-hyun replied in perfect Vorth language. The alien's 3 eyes went wide with shock. So-min was already at the power core controls. Her hands moved like a concert pianist playing a complex piece. Warning lights began flashing as she made precise adjustments. "What are you doing?" another technician asked in fear. "Reducing power to weapons and shields," she answered calmly, "also lowering the gravity in certain sections." The technicians could not believe what they were seeing. These primitive humans understood advanced Vorth technology better than many Vorth engineers. "How was that possible?" "Who are you, really?" the lead technician whispered. Hyunwoo smiled for the first time since being captured. "We are exactly who we appear to be," he said. "We are farmers and teachers and craftsmen. We just happen to have other skills as well." Alarms finally began ringing throughout the ship. Captain Nextar's voice echoed from speakers in the walls. "All crew to battle stations. The human slaves have escaped. Find them and bring them back alive." "Time to go," Yuna said. She had finished installing small devices throughout the engineering section. "These will give us remote access to ship systems." They left the stunned technicians tied up with their own equipment cables. The group moved toward the communication center. Behind them, the Vorth crew was finally realizing they were not hunting escaped primitives. They were being hunted by something much more dangerous. As they moved through the ship's corridors, more Vorth crew members encountered them. Each meeting ended the same way. Guards and technicians who expected to capture weak humans instead found themselves facing skilled opponents who seemed to know everything about Vorth physiology, technology, and tactics. The education of the Vorth Empire had begun, but they were about to learn that their lessons in human capabilities were just getting started. The cargo hold of the Vorth ship was dark and cold. Metal walls surrounded rows of prison cells. Each cell held 4 or 5 humans from the village. The air smelled like engine oil and something rotten. Strange alien sounds echoed through the corridors. Hyunwoo opened his eyes slowly. He was lying on a hard metal floor. Thick bars surrounded him on all sides. Other villagers were in nearby cells. Some were still unconscious from the alien gas. Others were starting to wake up. "Where are we?" whispered an old man named Jin Ho. His voice shook with fear. "What happened to our village?" "Aliens took us," replied a woman named Unji. She held her young daughter close. "I saw strange creatures with scary faces." Hyunwoo sat up carefully. He looked around the prison area with calm eyes. He counted the cells, the guards, and the security cameras. His breathing was steady and controlled. He showed no panic like the others. 3 Vorth guards stood near the entrance. Each one was huge and covered in thick scales. They carried energy weapons that glowed with blue light. Their yellow eyes watched the human prisoners with amusement. "Look at them," said guard Drekmol. "So weak and frightened. These primitives will make good slaves." "The females can work in the pleasure houses," added another guard. "The males can dig in the mines." So-min was in the cell next to Hyunwoo. She sat quietly in the corner with her head down. Tears ran down her face. She looked like a terrified schoolteacher who had never seen violence, but her eyes were carefully watching every detail of their prison. Do-hyun was 2 cells away. He lay on his side as if still sick from the gas. His strong blacksmith hands covered his face, but through his fingers he studied the lock on his cell door. The alien technology was interesting. Different from human designs, but not impossible to understand. Yuna was in the far corner cell. She rocked back and forth like she was scared. She made soft crying sounds. The guards thought she was just a frightened village girl. They did not notice her eyes moving in patterns, counting steps and measuring distances. After several hours, the guards brought food. It was a gray paste that tasted like metal. Most prisoners could barely eat it. The guards laughed at the humans' reactions. "Eat it or starve," Drekmol said. "You need strength for the slave markets." Hyunwoo stood up and walked to the bars. "Please," he said in broken English. "My people are scared. Can you tell us where you are taking us?" The guards found this funny. Here was a primitive human trying to talk to his superiors. Drekmol came closer to the cell. "You go to Kepler Station," he said slowly, like talking to a child. "Big market there. Many aliens buy human slaves. You work hard for new masters. How long until we arrive?" Hyunwoo asked. He looked worried and confused. 3 more days, Drekmol replied. "Then you start new life as property." Hyunwoo nodded and backed away from the bars. He sat down next to the other villagers. But he had learned important information. 3 days meant they were traveling through hyperspace. Kepler Station was in the Tau Ceti system. That told him exactly where they were going. That night, when the lights dimmed, the humans whispered to each other. Most talked about their fears and worries. They wondered if they would ever see Earth again. Parents held their children and tried to give comfort, but 4 voices spoke differently. Hyunwoo, So-min, Do-hyun, and Yuna used the Korean language. To the alien guards monitoring them, it sounded like frightened babbling. The guards did not understand any human languages except basic English. "Security rotation changes every 6 hours, Hyunwoo whispered in Korean. 3 guards minimum at all times. "Cell locks are magnetic," Do-hyun added quietly. "But the backup system is mechanical. I can work with that." "Ship has standard Vorth layout," So-min said. "Engineering section is 2 levels down. Bridge is 4 levels up. Communications array is on the outer hull," Yuna reported. "I spotted the antenna array during feeding time." To anyone listening, they sounded like scared villagers comforting each other. The guards paid no attention to the soft Korean words. They were focused on watching for escape attempts or violence. Over the next 2 days, the 4 continued their quiet observations. They learned the guards' names and schedules. They mapped the ship's layout from memory. They identified weak points in the prison security. So-min played her part perfectly. During the day, she cried and begged the guards for news about their families. She seemed like a helpless woman who could not accept her situation. The guards enjoyed her distress, but while she sobbed, she was actually studying Vorth physiology. She noticed how they moved, where their joints bent, what areas seemed protected by armor, information that might be useful later. Do-hyun spent his time examining every piece of metal in their cell. He looked at the walls, the floor, the bars. He seemed nervous and restless. The guards thought he was just anxious about being trapped. Really, he was learning about Vorth engineering. The metal was strong but had predictable stress points. The joints used standard connection methods. The electrical systems followed logical patterns. Knowledge that could be valuable. Yuna continued to act frightened and confused. She asked many simple questions about alien technology. The guards enjoyed showing off their superiority to the primitive human. "This is plasma cannon," one guard explained proudly. "It can melt through tank armor. How does it work?" Yuna asked with wide, innocent eyes. The guard spent 10 minutes explaining plasma physics to someone he thought was a simple weaver. He never imagined she understood every word and was memorizing the technical details. On the third day, Captain Nextar visited the cargo hold. He wanted to inspect his valuable cargo before arrival. The human slaves would bring good prices if they were healthy and undamaged. Excellent specimens, he told the guards. The males are strong. The females are attractive. Even the children will find buyers. Hyunwoo stepped forward again. Please, sir, he said respectfully. My people are worried. Will families be kept together? Nextar laughed. His sharp teeth gleamed in the dim light. Families, he said. You are property now. Property goes where owners want it to go. I understand, Hyunwoo replied sadly. We will try to be good workers. Smart primitive, Nextar said approvingly. You accept reality. That will help you survive. As the captain left, he felt satisfied with his successful raid. The humans seemed properly broken and ready for sale. There would be no trouble from these simple farmers and craftsmen. But he failed to notice the way Hyunwoo's eyes followed him out of the room, or how So-min had stopped crying the moment the captain appeared, or the fact that Do-hyun and Yuna had both moved to positions where they could see everything clearly. The primitive humans were almost ready to show their true nature.